All right, let's talk about prompt engineering. It is, without a doubt, one of the most crucial skills in the world of AI right now. But what does it really take to get good at it? Today, we're going to break down the core concepts you absolutely have to know. Think of this as your personal study guide to get you up to speed and fast. Let's dive in. So we've got a really clear roadmap for this. First, we'll cover the foundational concepts, the actual language of prompt engineering. Then we'll get into the powerful techniques the pros are using every day. After that, we'll look at the best practices to make sure you get consistent quality results. And finally, we're going to cover the super important topic of risks and safety. By the end, you'll have a really solid framework for understanding the whole shebang. Okay, let's start with the absolute building blocks. To really communicate effectively with an AI, you've got to understand its language. These are the core concepts that form the foundation of every single great prompt you'll ever write. First up is context. The easiest way to think about this is you're setting the scene for the AI. You're giving it the who, what, where, and when. So for example, instead of just saying, write a story, you'd provide context like, you are a detective in 1940s New York. That little bit of context completely changes the output, right? Next, we have the instruction. Now, if context sets the stage, the instruction, well, it's the star of the show. This is your direct command, the specific verb that tells the model what to do. Things like summarize this article, or translate this phrase, or generate 3 ideas for me. It's the core action you want it to take. It's not always about telling the AI what to do. Sometimes it's just as important to tell it what not to do. And that's exactly where negative prompts come in. They add a ton of precision by setting boundaries. For instance, you could ask for a simple explanation of a topic and then add, do not use technical jargon. This is such a key tool for really fine-tuning the output. And finally, we have latent space. Now, this one's a bit more abstract, but it's really crucial to grasp. Just think of it as the AI's internal map of knowledge, a massive, interconnected web of all the data and patterns it learned from its training. So every single time you give it a prompt, it's literally navigating this huge space to find and generate the most relevant response for you. So now that we have those foundational concepts in mind, how do we actually put them into practice? Let's move on to the actual techniques. This is the how-to, the specific methods for structuring your prompts to get what you want. This slide shows a fantastic spectrum of techniques, really, from simple to complex. On one end, you have zero shot, where you just give the AI a task cold with no examples at all. As you move along to single shot and few shot, you start providing one or more examples to guide it. For those really complex problems, you use chain of thought to make the model reason step by step. And then, to scale all of this up, you use templates for repeatable tasks. Let's just zoom in on 2 of the most common methods here, because this is a classic exam question. With zero shot, you're testing the model's raw out-of-the-box knowledge. You give it 0 examples. But with few shot, you're essentially becoming a teacher on the fly. By providing a few examples of the output you want, you're guiding its style and structure, which, let me tell you, almost always leads to much better results. So you know the concepts, and you know the techniques. But how do you get great results every single time? That's where best practices come in. This is all about moving from just knowing the theory to really mastering the craft. Think of this as your core checklist. First, be specific and concise. Clarity is king here. Second, always experiment. Your first prompt is almost never your best one. So iterate, iterate, iterate. Third, treat it like a conversation. Use follow-up prompts to refine the output. And finally, always think about safety by applying guardrails, which is a topic we're about to dive into right now. Now, for our final and, I'd argue, most critical section, risks and guardrails. Getting great outputs is only half the battle. As a prompt engineer, understanding how to use this technology safely and responsibly is absolutely paramount. It's so easy to get excited about what these models can do, but with that power comes some very real responsibility. So what are the potential dangers we really need to be aware of when we're working with them? Okay, here are the 4 key risks to really understand. Exposure is the accidental leaking of sensitive data. Poisoning happens when a model is trained on malicious data. Hijacking is when an attacker manipulates your prompt's output. And jailbreaking is the act of tricking a model into bypassing its own safety filters. Remember these big 4. So how do we defend against these risks? Well, the answer is guardrails. They act like shields, proactive safety measures and instructions that you build into your system to block harmful outputs before they can ever reach the user. It's really all about designing for safety from the very beginning. And that's our whirlwind tour.
let's lock it in one last time. We covered the core concepts like context and instruction. We looked at the techniques from zero shot to chain of thought. We reviewed the best practices like being specific and experimenting, and we finished with the critical risks like hijacking and jailbreaking. That right there is the framework for great prompt engineering.
So this is about way more than just a test. It's about mastering a seriously powerful skill. You have the knowledge now. The real question is, how will you use it to build responsibly? Thanks for tuning in.